This Shabbat we talk about that all-important moment of revelation at Sinai, God appearing to the entire Jewish people and giving us the Torah. The Ten Commandments are presented in a way that there are 5 on the right and 5 on the left, 2 tablets. The one speaks about our relationship with God, and the other speaks about our relationship with human beings, interpersonal relationships. And there's a correlation between these 5 and those 5. The top of the right, for example, speaks about belief in God. The top on the left speaks about do not murder. Because if we believe in God, then we would preserve that which is created in the image of God, another human being. The second one on the right says, you shall have no other gods before me. Idolatry is out because a relationship with God is total. There's no place for any compromise in the relationship with an additional relationship aside from God. The second one on the left speaks about do not commit adultery. Your commitment to your spouse, your husband and wife, is total. There is no room for any other such relationship when there is a relationship so committed in marriage. There's clearly a correlation between the right and the left. But I want to share a few thoughts about an inverse image between the right and the left. Because look at the right-hand side. It begins with the realm of thought. What happens inside of ourselves. Belief in God, do not have any other gods before me. Then it moves into the realm of speech. Do not take God's name in vain. Don't say God's name inappropriately. And then it moves into the realm of action. Keep the Sabbath, honor your parents, which is practical action commandments. So the ones on the right that relate to our connection to God begins with thought, and then it moves into speech, and then it moves into action. But look at the ones on the left. They start with do not kill, do not commit adultery, do not steal, action commandments. Then it moves into do not bear false testimony against another human being, which is the realm of speech. And the final 10th commandment says, do not covet, do not be jealous of another human being. That's something that's not an action, not a speech. It is something that happens inside of ourselves. So look at the inverted image. On the right-hand side, when it comes to our religious practices to God, the Ten Commandments begins with the realm of thought, and then it moves into speech, and then it moves into action. When we talk about interpersonal relationships, it begins with action, then it moves into speech, and finally into the realm of thought. One of the explanations for this is that when it comes to religion, we often imagine that religion is only about thought, feelings. How often do we hear somebody say, I'm so religious in my heart. I have a connection to God in my heart. I feel Jewish in my heart. I don't have to do the commandments. On the right-hand side, in our relationship with God, the Ten Commandments is emphatic. We might begin our religious experience in thought and feelings, but it has to be brought to the deed, to the action, to the implementation, to practical effect in our lives. We have to do our religious experience with God. We put on tefillin. We do commandments that relate to Shabbat and bringing in the Shabbos with the Shabbos candles on time. So many commandments that practically bring our fervor, our thoughts, our feelings of connection to God to action. When it comes to our interpersonal relationships, so no civil code, no constitution speaks about thought. Constitutions talk about action because that's the realm that we can see and that's how we can respond to. And that is what we actually see in the world around us. No constitution speaks about the way we think. It's impossible to monitor the way people think about one another. But here the Ten Commandments is saying you could legislate that people behave correctly to another human being. You could legislate that there's a new South Africa and apartheid is over and there's a new set of systems and a new set of laws. But you have to change the way people think if you're going to succeed in changing the way a society practices. So on the right-hand side, when it comes to religion, don't think that you can leave religion in the realm of thought. You have to bring it down to action. When it comes to our interpersonal relationships, don't think that we can win by writing laws about how we behave. We have to go deeper than that. We have to bring it to a place where we don't even think negatively about one another. We think positively, we feel and sense the pain of others. We are in tune with the feelings that thereby change the way society operates. Let us look at the Ten Commandments as a model for living. Let's ensure that we connect with God, we connect with one another, that is what God is wanting us to do. Have a beautiful Shabbos.